Hey all, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to understand very important topic in computer networking, which is what is MAC learning and what is MAC aging. MAC learning is a process how a switch is learning the MAC addresses of end devices connected to it. So the funda is very clear. Let's go to this practical. Let's say we have a switch and we have end devices A, B, C, D. So these devices are going to communicate. Let's say A is a sender of a frame. A has some data to send to device D. So first, let's say the switch is booted up. So what are the steps it is going to follow to learn the MAC addresses? That is called MAC learning. So understand point by point what is MAC learning. So once the APC send frame to switch, it start maintaining a table called MAC address table. So MAC address table is going to start maintaining when the switch receive a frame from sender. At this point, MAC address has one entry which is source address only, which is source and devices only. A PC exists a MAC address in its NIC card. NIC card. In NIC card, we assign a MAC address. This is also called built-in address. MAC address learning is by default enabled on all VLANs. So whatever VLANs is there in the switch, it is by default enabled. Switch dynamically build that address table of source MAC address with which frame received. So once the frame received to the switch by default dynamically start maintaining a table, and it gives the entry for A end device with its MAC address detail and what port ID. So now we have in our switch this entry. When the switch received this frame from A and not aware of any other PC MAC address, it flooded the frame. So as PC is just booted up and have only one entry in MAC table, it it will flood this frame to all the ports, and whatever the destined port will be reply. Let's say we have sent this data to D. The D will reply with its MAC address and port ID and receive the frame, and all the other frame will discard this message because it is not destined for them. Hence the switch is an intelligent device. Then hub do not do these operations. It does not maintain a table like MAC table. Okay, so let's just move and see the next slide. Yeah, when the destination station replies, the switch add its relevant MAC address and port ID to the address table. So now we have a MAC address with A device entry and B device entry. Let's say in some time A send the data to C. C MAC address are also going to come in the MAC address table. So those destination port who will reply, the MAC address, the switch is going to put the entries here in the MAC address table. Now switch forward frames to single. See, yeah. Now see, once switch is aware of all the end devices connected to it. Let's say these all devices have the data in its MAC table. Now let's say this A device and B device going to communicate. This will follow a processor of unicast. So now unicast will happen. Earlier what was happening? It was happening unicast flooding or broadcasting. It was earlier was happening broadcasting, and unicast flooding is when the switch removes removes the entry from MAC address table, and because of this unicast flooding, by checking the MAC address, it transfers the data. So unicast is when the MAC address table are there, all the entries are there in MAC address, then it do unicast. And broadcast when switch is just rebooted and have no idea of MAC address, it do broadcast. And switch aged out is its MAC address entries, then it do unicast flooding. Okay, and we can also assign static MAC address to the end devices, and we have command for this too. Now we understood what is MAC learning, how the switch to MAC learning, and how it create a MAC table. Now we'll understand what is MAC aging. MAC aging is a amount of time for which the data in a MAC address table remains, and by default it is 300 seconds. So let's understand point by point. You can configure the time amount that an entry remains in MAC address table. This I told you, right? And it can also configure MAC aging time in interface or VLAN configuration mode. We can do in VLAN configuration mode or interface mode. MAC aging time specifies the time before an entry ages out and is discarded from MAC address table. So it's the amount of time for which an entry stays and or ages out or discarded from MAC address table. The range, the explicit range is from 0 to 1 crore seconds and the default is 300 seconds. So entering the value 0, disable the MAC aging. That is switch will behave as a hub. So understand, if MAC address entries are not going to happen, the switch will behave like a dumb device. So in that way, this will act as a hub. And if VLAN is not specified, the aging specification applies on all VLAN because VLAN allow MAC learning. So these are the two commands for MAC aging, MAC address table aging. This command is used so commonly because this is see understand these two commands. This command is a enhance command, enhance or secure security purpose command. In this command, regardless of any communication happening within that entry or not, it will explicitly remove the entry from MAC address table. But in this command, there is an exception that if any communication is happening through A and D and the time is out, still the communication is happening, this will allow the traffic to go. But in that case, the traffic will not flow because we have explicitly say that the moment time out, you have to be shut this port. We don't want the MAC address entries into our MAC address table. And that way switch does not allow the traffic. But in the previous command, the first command, MAC address table aging time, it is a normal command wherein if communication is happening, then stay. Please put my entries over there. If the communication is not happening, the moment the time ages out, please stop communication. And the commands which are going to be used in our practical is show MAC address to show all the MAC address things in switch, and ARP command to check the ARP entry, the ARP table in end devices, and ping command is to check the connectivity from end devices to end devices, and this is for aging. So now let's just head to Cisco Packet Tracer to understand this in practical. So we have these four devices. One is intermediate devices, which is switch, and three end devices: APC, BPC, CPC. A is holding this address, B is holding this address, C is holding this address. Now the moment, so let's just see the ARP entry for A device. Right now it is having no ARP entries. There's no data in there. But and now let's just see switch. What's the switch? Switch has just rebooted. Now let's understand. So there is no MAC address right now. But you see how the MAC address will table is going to change. The moment I ping PC2 from PC1, the switch start capturing the MAC address detail of what two devices, PC1 and PC2, because PC3 discarded uh, this frame because the switch will do. See, the moment switch take the frame from PCA to switch, it will broadcast that frame. But PC3 discarded this frame because it is not relevant to him. The moment PC2 receives this frame, it will acknowledge it. It will say, okay, this is my frame. And the moment it acknowledges this, the switch will add its MAC address table into the switch, a MAC address into the switch MAC address table. And this is how the MAC address table generated. So we are expecting the switch to hold the MAC address table, MAC address of two PCs now. So yeah, two PCs MAC address entries are there, one and two. How it will store the third PC MAC address? So again, we have to ping from PC 0 to PC3, PC2. So ping PC third. Now the moment I ping PC3. Now PC3 data, the frame acknowledgement will go to switch, and that's when switch will understand the MAC address of PC3. So now let's just check in switch whether we got the three details in three entry in MAC address table. Yeah, we got. So this is how MAC address table generated, and this is how switch learned MAC addresses. MAC aging is not going to configure on Cisco Packet Tracer, but you can allow it those commands which I explained in my notes to try on different editors or lab tools, and you can get your results, because it is not allowed to do it in here. In my next video I'll show you. Thank you for connecting, and I hope this you like this video. If to, please to subscribe my channel. Thank you.